welcome to this workshop. And I really appreciate your participation. And this workshop, am I on? I don't know. Yes?
Yes, Esther.
Yes, I'm on?
Yes.
Okay. Well, this workshop, I hope, can deepen our understanding in serving a very diverse group of people, okay? And especially at this challenging time, okay? Yeah, I don't want to waste too much of the time, and I will go right into what I prepared to share. The family as the decision-making unit. And I always really talk to the family first in many ways, because I will have a better understanding of what the consumer needs. And of course, I need to talk to the consumer too, if the consumer is ready to express herself or himself. But in many cases, conservatorship is a new concept to the family, and they will definitely ask case manager to help. Conservatorship means people can apply through the court and become a person to make decision for the consumer, because consumers has different kind of deficits and cannot make life decision on their own. But this conservatorship can be partially granted by the court. That means only certain things that this conservator can have. But besides that, have to go through this legal process, please keep in mind the family, especially the parents, always regard their children, as people that they always need to help, to offer not only financially, but physical help. And so they really never see them grow up, okay? And they want to make decision for them. Sometimes it can not drive consistently well with what the consumer wants. But I just want you to have this in your mind, that parents' decision, you need to listen and you need to pay attention to. Well, this is something really lead to potentially they don't want to see the children to become independent, correct? Yeah, then let's go to the next slide. Okay, independence versus interdependence, okay? And since they are always in the parents' eyes like little kids, and also they have, functionally, they cannot do a whole lot of things. So they offer a lot of help from daily routine to anything outside their home. They have a lot of provide a lot of hands-on help for them. And this is tells you that they are not really into training. So they don't know how to do training for the consumer. Even they reach the age like 22, 23, you probably can see a lot of them don't do a whole lot on their own. It's not they cannot do it, they have a lot of potentials, but parents, because of their love for the kid, they do everything for them. So in this respect, the concept about training is not very strong in the family. They always want to do things for them. And on the other hand, in the Asian culture, we really speak highly of interdependence. Okay, as a child growing up, the child has to depend on the parents' care, and as the child become an adult, and the parents are getting old, the children has to take care of the parents. So this is something that the culture really highly uphold in many ways, okay? And when they reach our consumers reach a certain age, they still, the parents still has a lot of emotional tie to them. Well, it's not that they do not want them to learn a skill. For example, we offer independent living skill training, correct? And they will agree to it because they are not really into the training. So if they learn a skill that the parents see is so important, for example, they can feed themselves with a spoon and a fork and all that, the parents are really happy about that. But if you ask them to teach them how to use the fork and a spoon, it is, something they probably never thought about. They rather want to feed them, okay? So this is something, when they learn a skill, they will be very happy, but they would never have that thinking into the process, how this can be achieved. So yeah, if you work with them and to try to convince them about what ILS can do, you have to talk about the process, okay? And step by step. So this is independence versus interdependence. And of course, in the historical perspective, the parents expect a lot of respect and also a lot of responsibility and obligation from their children. But if they always see you as little kids, they don't expect that from the consumers, okay? Next. Well, as you probably know, the importance about food in the Asian culture. Yeah, all this time when I go home visits, or in our even agency meetings, food is a very special item, okay? And while talking about going to home visit, they offer you food. They offer you cultural food, and also they emphasize they make it on their own. And as you know, Asians had a hard time in expressing love, but to make food for you is an expression of love. So I encourage you to taste the food, although you may not like it, but in a matter of respect for their expression of love, taste it, okay? And they find you respectful towards them, okay? And yeah, I think that in some situation, I remember, yeah, some of the food, it may not drive with my taste bud, but I still want to taste it first, and then I will tell them. They don't mind. You tell them honestly of, for example, you cannot take spicy food, then you tell them, okay, yeah. And this is okay, yeah. But they offer you food, it means it's an expression of love or liking you. Okay, yes. Next. Yeah, this building a trustful relationship as a key strategy. I always think about this. The building the trustful relationship, you need to have the language ability, correct? And well, the Asian art of expressive language and body languages, I can tell you some specifics, like they always have their head down. It's not that they don't respect you. It's a matter of, showing they are listening. They submit to you and listen. That's why they have their head down. Because have their head up, and it's like they don't, it's proud, and then they in many ways they want to show that they're humble people. Okay, and there's no eye contact, and it's not they don't respect you. It's they don't think to have eye to eye contact is a good idea. Okay, so don't take it wrong that if they don't have eye contact. And then I believe if you think about discussing something, to hold a discussion, this is something that Asian, this kind of discussion, that word probably is not in the dictionary, because they either listen to you or you ask them to speak, they speak. But to discuss is what you call simultaneous conversation, okay? And this is not something, it's not a familiar concept to them, okay? And well, then how can we assess that we are having a trustful relationship? Let me tell you, all along, I find that talk therapy, this kind of thing, or just talk is not going to be good. Offering something tangible is very, very important. A lot of time I find that if you talk or try to prevent something bad happened, sometimes they don't listen, okay? Yeah, then I just hold my breath and be patient, and then wait for something that is almost happening. Something they don't want to see, I don't want to see. Then they would pay attention, and you offer the help at that same time, okay? And so tangible help is always welcome. Next. Well, understanding the implication of skepticism in using mainstream services. Well, when I was at ACMHS for that 30-some years, I think when people come to us, maybe through children's hospital, maybe through some clinic, outpatient clinic, or school district, or any other CBOs, they are very motivated to get the service. But well, I haven't done a lot of outreach for a long time, because ACMHS is the only agency in town that serve the IDD folks, okay, for 34 years. And now I find out some of the people we are in contact with, they have some skepticism in getting even the regional center services, because they believe it will jeopardize their immigration status, okay? this is new to me, but I like to share with you. This is something they don't want the government to know, that they think that this is welfare services. Well, we explain it to them. This is entitlement services. It's not welfare services, because immigrants these days, they are not allowed to get welfare for a number of years. So this is understanding, but this whole thing, we need clarification if they bring it up to us. The other thing is they really don't know the service system well. The service system is so complicated, okay? Don't talk about other things, just the healthcare system is so complicated. You have co-payment, you have to buy the insurance, even though you don't have any co-payment, you are on Medi-Cal, you still have to be evaluated on an annual basis. So these are a lot of compliance, to all these time scheduled appointments, evaluations, and all that, if you want to keep the insurance coverage going, okay? So this is complicated, and with language is a barrier, with mobility is a barrier. So they cannot really know how to use the system well. In this respect, I have to say, when I was having my case management team, I hired them with one very important thing is they have to be bilingual in an Asian language. And so that they build the understanding with the family, and to be a person who is trustworthy to them. So they can ask a lot of questions, including their own family stuff is unrelated to the consumer, but you cannot refuse not to answer them. So yeah, we take the consumer, and we probably have to take the entire family as a whole. But the case manager, well, when I left in 2016, I left the team because I retired, and it's only about 20 members in the team. So why I want to commit myself to this project, I want to see you providers be able to hire more bilingual people, because you're not limited to 20 people, or it could be a whole lot of people you can hire if you want to serve this very diverse group. Yeah, the language, I can tell you about 8 major Asian language, but it is maybe 20, 30 different languages, in one group. Just by the Chinese, that may be 100 different kind of dialect. Okay, so language is very important, and that build up the trust too. So I want to go into the next slide. The direct communication with the family. Yes, the family, as what I say from the beginning, is decision-making unit, okay? So how can you identify who's the authority figure? It's the mom or the dad, or the older brother or the older sister, okay? Or the person who speaks perfect English. So it all depends. So to be able to identify that, you probably have to host some meeting with them. Then who show up in the meeting? It's the person who probably has the authority in the family, okay? And The other thing is English is the second language to all of them. And they don't understand a lot of the professional lingo. Yeah, I mean, I could say that. I was in the mental health side while I'm starting my job at ACMHS, and I go to the DD services. The set of professional lingo is very, very different. Okay, and so you can tell these family who probably have limited English wouldn't be able to understand those professional lingo. So you can make it in very simple words and maybe, you know, in very general conversational words to make them understand. And then the tone of voice, sometimes they are loud, well, including myself. In many of the American-born Chinese, I have two, and they think that I speak too loud, okay? And you know why? Because I came from Hong Kong, a place with a lot of people, and the noise level around you is so loud. If you want people to listen and understand what you say, you have to be loud too, okay? So, but in many ways, people think that the tone of voice is like shouting or yelling, and that's not the case. I think that we are used to that because it's too many, the background, too much noise in the background. So, so they're not yelling, they're not shouting at you, okay? It's the tone of voice, it's just different. So, well, I want to go to the next one. Understanding of the service system. I would say first, their help-seeking behavior in a cultural context. Honestly, they don't want to go out to seek help. Many of them don't. They rather want, they have problem, they rather want to keep it to themselves, or they try to resolve it in the family. And they don't think that outside people can help. But if things get very severe, for example, domestic violence, yeah, they need outside people to help. Of course, they don't want to go to the police to get help. But anybody who can intervene, preferably extended family or community leaders, okay? But so the help-seeking behavior, they are very hesitant. So even though they go out to seek help, they are very hesitant. And sometimes they withdraw, okay? So don't be surprised if they tell you something and then they withdraw the next day saying that no. So it's not a surprise, okay? Give them time, they will find out, yeah, what kind of help that we can offer and they need, okay? And how do they look at the helping professionals? They look at you as an outsider, no doubt, okay? And they don't understand, okay, you are a counselor, you are a social worker, you are a navigator. I don't think they can differentiate these job titles, okay? So in a cultural way to look at, you are a helper. This is what in their mindset, you are helping. But do they know that you only help certain things and not the others? They don't know either, okay? In their eyes, whatever problem they cannot resolve at home, they need help, they will go to you. As little as they receive a government letter and they don't know how to read, they call you up. So you act as a translator, although you may be a supervisor of a certain, maybe the case management unit, but you still need to help them, okay? So they really don't understand what this job title means to them. But when they see you, a person you can help, especially you speak perfect English and they don't, they will go to you. So this is how we build up a relationship. If you say no all the time, this relationship is really difficult to build up. And when you build up the relationship, you can explain it to them, what is your responsibility later on, okay? Yeah, this is something I want you to know, yeah. And then the other thing is the documentation. Well, we all receive government funding and the documentation is humongous, okay? Very complicated too. Well, at some point, I asked myself too, is it required by the system or required by the consumer and families? So in many ways, especially Medi-Cal, they demand a lot of documentation in order for the provider to be paid. They have a certain way that is developed for you to follow. And yeah, my staff always complain. And regional center is known to be a place requiring a lot of documentation. And that, of course, everything has to be written in English. And when you hire people who have difficulty in writing English, that will be an issue. And I just come up with some new idea. I don't know whether it can fly. Maybe you hire somebody like a scribe, you know, people use it in the hospital to be able to type up whatever is tape recorded in the meeting and type it up in English to meet the documentation need for the funder. Most of the time is the California state, different department, they require different kind of documentation. So that's one thing. The other thing is all these meetings, individual service plan or individual educational plan or individual program plan or individual family service plan, all these plans to them. And I don't think they can understand well of what the differences are, except you are meeting in a different setting for these plans, right? And most of the time they are just there to listen and they hardly argue with what to be written down, you know, for the objective and plan. And I mean, I know that in those plans, you probably will see a lot who will do it, when need to be done, and what is this about. So these things, if you can think about simple terms to explain it to them, they will get it. On the other hand, I think to write that down. Yes, the professional, like teachers, our service providers, all these, the names, agencies are on it. But on the other hand, I'm sure you need family to follow up with what you are doing to make the consumer's potential to come out to the maximum. So to work with them, well, you need to explain it in simple words, in their language, if you have a person who can speak them. Okay? Okay, next. Okay, leverage the relationships and influence of community leaders. Well, family, especially with a special need child or adult child, I'm sure that is a lot of conflict in providing what kind of care. And so if the conflict deepens and you don't want them to escalate to the point that will involve anything legal. So hopefully, if you can resolve in a cultural context, you probably will consider talking to them about going to the community leader, okay? And or any of like a person who is very influential in the extended family, okay, to come in. And because I think that they know the best how to do it. For example, in many of the Asian families, the male figure, it is very influential, okay? But the male figure probably is not very involved most of the time in the Asian families. But how are you going to get them involved and all that? You probably have to do some work behind the scene. And if they can pick this up and be able to say something, yeah, that probably can come to a resolution, okay? And yeah, they do have a lot of respect for their community leader, especially, for example, in the Cambodian community. Buddhist temple, you know, the leaders in the Buddhist temple, they will listen to, okay? And in the Mian community, the male figure, it's very important in the family, okay? And well, actually applies to Chinese, Vietnamese, Korean, Japanese too, okay? So I just want to, you look out to that and see whether they can help you, okay? And yeah, this is something I tried in the past and it works.